Have you ever felt like you know Black history? You've heard about slavery, the Civil War, and Martin Luther King Jr. But what if I told you that what you've been taught is a carefully curated, sanitized, and controlled version of the truth? A version designed to be safe, comfortable, and easy for the dominant culture to swallow. Think about how slavery is taught. It's often presented as a dark chapter that ended with the Civil War and emancipation. We learn about a few heroic figures, but what about the sheer scale of the brutality, the economic exploitation that built nations? What about the countless acts of resistance and the radical leaders who fought back? Figures like Nat Turner or Denmark Vesey are often just footnotes, if they're mentioned at all. By glossing over these inconvenient truths, the educational system presents a neat, tidy story of redemption, hiding the raw courage and agency of enslaved people who didn't just wait to be saved. This pattern of erasure extends far beyond slavery. It seeps into every corner of history, especially when it comes to Black contributions to science, technology, and culture. Have you heard of Elijah McCoy? His automatic lubricator for steam engines was so revolutionary that people would ask for the real McCoy to avoid cheap copies. Yet, his name is largely absent from our textbooks. What about Lewis Latimer? He was a key inventor who improved Thomas Edison's light bulb with a longer-lasting carbon filament, making electric light practical for everyone. But his story is almost always overshadowed. And then there's the incredible story of Henrietta Lacks. Her cells, taken without her consent, became the first immortal human cell line and have been instrumental in countless medical breakthroughs. From the polio vaccine to cancer treatments, her contribution is foundational to modern medicine, yet her story is almost never taught in biology classes. When these stories are ignored, it creates a false narrative. It suggests that Black brilliance is a rare exception, not a fundamental part of our collective progress. It downplays the systemic barriers that Black innovators faced and still face today. This isn't just an accident or an oversight, it's a form of indoctrination. By controlling which stories get told, educational institutions subtly shape our worldview. They reinforce a narrative where Black history is seen as separate, secondarily and subordinate to the grand story of Western civilization. Students are taught to celebrate a few token successes, but they're rarely encouraged to grapple with the systemic injustices that made those successes so remarkable. The focus is always on individual triumph over adversity, not on challenging the system itself. This teaches a subtle lesson: comply, don't confront. Be an inspiring individual, but don't try to dismantle the power structures. Beyond the classroom, our media and cultural institutions often reinforce this sanitized narrative. Movies, documentaries, and museum exhibits tend to focus on heroic but safe figures. They tell stories of struggle that always end in a neat, feel-good redemption. But what about the Black thinkers, artists, and innovators who were controversial, radical, or inconvenient? The ones who didn't fit neatly into a box. Their legacies are frequently erased. Consider the countless Black scientists and engineers whose patents were stolen, whose discoveries went uncredited, or whose careers were deliberately stifled. When history ignores their contributions, it perpetuates the myth that certain fields are naturally dominated by one group. It allows the lie of a pure meritocracy to persist, masking the reality of systemic theft and suppression. This pattern repeats everywhere. In music, literature, and politics, the stories that are highlighted are the acceptable ones, while those that might provoke discomfort or challenge the status quo are buried. So, why does any of this matter? The consequences of this historical whitewashing are massive. It leaves millions of students with a warped and incomplete understanding of the world. For Black youth, it can deny them a full sense of their heritage, identity, and power. For everyone else, it reinforces biases and perpetuates damaging myths about race and achievement. By controlling history, dominant power structures can control the present. A sanitized past makes it easier to ignore present-day inequalities. It's a narrative that's easy to digest, but it's a lie. If we want to move forward, we have to confront the truth. We must demand a more complete and honest telling of history. Our textbooks and classrooms need to go beyond the safe, celebratory stories. We need to learn about the radical leaders, the forgotten innovators, and the morally complex figures who challenged the system. We need to see stories of collective resistance, not just individual triumphs. Acknowledging the whitewashing of history is uncomfortable, but it's absolutely necessary. It forces us to look not just at the past, but at the ongoing legacy of erasure. The full story of Black history isn't simple, and it isn't sanitized. It's messy, it's controversial, and it's challenging. But it is also incredibly powerful, inspiring, and essential for understanding the world we live in today. For too long, this history has been shaped to comfort rather than to educate. It's time to demand the whole truth. What are your thoughts on this? Have you noticed this in your own education? Leave your comment below and let's talk about it. Thanks for watching, and if this conversation is important to you, please like and subscribe for more.